Ladies and gentlemen, every single one of us, whether we're aware of it or not, operates on three levels: what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. Most people can tell you what they do. Some can even tell you how they do it differently or better. But very few can clearly articulate why they do what they do. And I don't mean to make money, that's a result. I mean, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? I've spoken to leaders, entrepreneurs, athletes, teachers, and the one thing that separates those who inspire from those who simply exist is this: they start with why. Let me tell you a story. Back in the early days of aviation, there were two men racing to achieve powered flight: Samuel Pierpont Langley and the Wright brothers. Langley had everything: funding from the War Department, access to Harvard and Smithsonian mines, and the press watching his every move. The Wright brothers, they had none of that. They ran a bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio, no college education, no high-level connections, just a dream, a belief, a deep why. They believed that if they could figure out controlled, sustained flight, it would change the course of the world. And that belief pulled people to them: mechanics, locals, friends. They all came together not for a paycheck, but for a purpose. And while Langley was chasing fame and fortune, the Wright brothers were driven by belief. On December 17, 1903, the Wright brothers succeeded. Langley gave up shortly after. Why? Because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The Wright brothers had a cause, Langley had a goal. When we start with why, we ignite something far deeper than logic. We spark emotion, loyalty, and trust. Whether you're building a business, launching a movement, or just trying to find meaning in your work, it has to start with why. Think about Apple. They could have said, "We make great computers," but they didn't. Their message was, "We believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently." That's their why. The computer, that's just the proof. So I challenge you today: don't just chase success. Don't just talk about what you do. Dig deeper. Discover your why. Because when you know your why, people will follow you not because they have to, but because they want to. And that is how movements begin. Thank you. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This simple yet powerful idea lies at the heart of all lasting inspiration and loyalty. Most of us spend so much time explaining what we do: our job titles, our products, our services. Some of us even go a step further and explain how we do it, what makes us better, faster, or more efficient than others. But the truly remarkable individuals and organizations, the ones that stand out, lead, and inspire, start with a different question: why do we do this in the first place? When someone resonates with your why, they're not just buying into a product, they're buying into a belief. They see themselves in your mission. This is why we feel such a deep connection to certain brands, leaders, and movements. It's not about the features, it's about the feeling. We don't line up for hours to buy the newest technology. We line up because we want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We want to belong. We want to support ideas that reflect our values. Consider Apple, for example. They don't just make computers or phones. Their message has always been about challenging the status quo, thinking differently, and empowering individuals through technology. That's their why. People don't buy Apple just for the specs. They buy into a vision. And as a result, Apple has built one of the most loyal customer bases in the world. This principle goes beyond business. It applies to movements, careers, even personal relationships. Think about Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't give the "I have a plan" speech, he gave the "I have a dream" speech. His words moved people not because of a detailed strategy, but because he spoke to a shared dream, a common belief in what was possible. So when you want to inspire, when you want to lead, when you want to truly connect, don't start with what you do. Start with why you do it. Because when you lead with why, you speak to the part of the brain that drives decision making, trust, and loyalty. You create a movement, not just a message, and in a world full of noise, people will always follow a voice that speaks with purpose. Most people can explain what they do. Some can even describe how they do it, what processes they follow, what makes them efficient, or what sets them apart from the competition. But very few can clearly articulate why they do it. And that why is the most important piece of all. It's not about making money or achieving external success. Those are results. The real why is about purpose. It's about belief. It's the reason you get out of bed in the morning. It's the deeper cause that drives your actions and decisions. The majority of people live their lives from the outside in. They start with what? I'm a graphic designer, or I sell real estate, or I run a business. Then, if they've given it some thought, they might add how. I create clean, modern visuals, or I provide great customer service. But rarely do you hear someone say, I believe in creating visual stories that move people emotionally, or I believe that a home is more than property. It's the foundation of a family's future. That's the kind of statement that connects with people on an emotional level. That's what inspires trust, engagement, and loyalty. When you don't know your why, everything becomes harder. Motivation fades. You might achieve goals but still feel unfulfilled. You may work hard but feel disconnected. That's because you're only operating on the surface, functioning in the what and the how, without grounding your work in a meaningful why. It's like building a house without a foundation. It may look good from the outside, but it won't withstand pressure over time. Leaders and organizations that thrive for the long term don't just focus on performance. They are deeply connected to their why. They communicate it clearly, consistently, and passionately. That sense of purpose becomes the heartbeat of everything they do. It attracts the right people, inspires innovation, and fuels resilience during hard times. Knowing your why creates clarity. It gives you a filter for decisions and a direction for growth. It aligns your work with your values and your actions with your beliefs. And most importantly, it allows you to lead, not just manage. When you lead with why, people don't just follow what you do. They follow you because they believe in what you believe. The story of the Wright brothers is a perfect example of how purpose can outweigh resources. On paper, they were the underdogs, two brothers from Dayton, Ohio, with no college education, no government funding, and no media spotlight. They owned a bicycle shop and used the little money they had to fund their dream of human flight. But what they lacked in resources, they made up for with an unshakable belief that powered flight could change the world. That belief, their why, is what kept them going through failure after failure. It's what brought people to their side, not for profit, but for purpose. On the other hand, there was Samuel Pierpont Langley. He was a respected scientist, backed by the War Department with a $50,000 grant, a huge amount of money at the time. He had access to the brightest minds and the best equipment. The media followed his every move, but Langley had a different motivation. He wanted to be rich. He wanted to be famous. His goal wasn't driven by purpose. It was driven by personal gain. That made all the difference. While Langley worked in secrecy and hierarchy, the Wright brothers collaborated in open fields, testing and failing with joy and determination. They didn't need recognition to stay motivated. Their team wasn't paid large salaries. They were believers. They shared a vision of the future and were willing to work tirelessly to bring it to life. When the Wright brothers succeeded in flying the first powered, controlled airplane on December 17, 1903, it wasn't just a technological victory. It was a triumph of belief over status, of purpose over privilege. Langley, on hearing the news, didn't try to improve upon their work or congratulate them. He simply quit. Why? Because he wasn't in it for the cause. He was in it for the credit. And when someone else got there first, the drive disappeared. This story is more than history. It's a lesson. Purpose is more powerful than money. Belief is more motivating than fame. When you start with why, you don't need to be the smartest, richest, or most connected. You just need clarity of purpose and the courage to pursue it. That's what inspires others. That's what leads to true innovation. That's how the impossible becomes possible. Starting with why is not just a strategy for communication. It's the foundation for building trust, loyalty, and long-term engagement. When people understand and connect with your purpose, they don't just support you once, they stay with you. They believe in you. That connection is emotional, not transactional. And that's the difference between a customer and a loyal follower, between a team member and a devoted contributor. between someone who buys once and someone who becomes your advocate. Think about the brands, leaders, or causes you truly care about, the ones that have made you feel something. Chances are, it's not because they have the best features or the lowest prices, it's because they stand for something. They reflect something you believe in. Their mission resonates with your identity. When we feel that emotional alignment, we don't need to be convinced. We want to be part of it. This kind of connection doesn't happen when you start with what. If you tell people only what you do or what you sell, you're giving them information. But when you start with why, you're offering them meaning. That taps into a completely different part of the human brain. The neocortex, responsible for rational thinking, understands facts and figures. But the limbic brain, the emotional center, drives behavior and decision making, and it doesn't respond to data. It responds to purpose. This is why movements grow and companies like Apple, Nike, or Tesla have such loyal followings. People align with their beliefs, not just their products. They don't just sell goods, they sell a vision. Think different, just do it. Accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. These messages aren't about specs, they're about values, and those values speak directly to people's hearts. Even within teams or organizations, starting with why creates a deeper bond. Employees don't want to work just for a paycheck. They want to feel they're part of something bigger. When leaders communicate the why behind the work, they inspire commitment instead of compliance. People show up not just with their skills, but with their passion. So if you want to build real loyalty, whether in business, leadership, or community, don't just tell people what you do, share why you do it. Because in the end, people don't commit to what you create. They commit to what you believe. Great organizations and inspiring leaders don't communicate the same way as everyone else. Most people work from the outside in. They start with what they do, then explain how they do it, and rarely, if ever, talk about why they do it. But truly influential individuals and companies do the opposite. They communicate from the inside out. They begin with why. The golden circle framework illustrates this perfectly. At the center is why, the purpose, cause, or belief that drives everything. The next layer is how, the process, the unique methods, the differentiators. And the outer layer is what, the product, service, or result. Most organizations and individuals only ever communicate from the outside in. Here's what we do, and here's how we're different. But when you start with why, you speak directly to people's values and beliefs, and that creates a deeper, more lasting connection. Let's look at an example. If Apple were like most companies, their message might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? That's fine. It's clear, it's logical, but it's not inspiring. Now let's flip the order and start with why, the way Apple actually does. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? It's the exact same message but reordered, and that one shift from outside into inside out changes everything. That's because people don't make decisions based purely on facts or logic. They make decisions based on how they feel, and they use logic to justify those feelings afterward. When you start with why, you're speaking directly to the emotional core. You're not just selling a product, you're inviting people to be part of something they believe in. When organizations communicate their why first, they don't just attract customers, they attract followers. They don't just hire employees, they build cultures. Their message isn't a pitch, it's a purpose. And people will rally around that purpose, support it, share it, and help it grow. In a crowded world full of options, starting with why isn't just good communication. It's how you stand out, it's how you lead. Knowing your why is one of the most powerful things you can discover. It gives you clarity, it gives you direction. It becomes your compass when things are uncertain, and your fuel when things get tough. When you know your why, your work stops being just a job or a task, it becomes a mission. You're not just going through the motions, you're moving with purpose. Without a clear why, it's easy to get lost. You might change jobs frequently, chase trends, or shift goals constantly, always looking for something that feels right but never quite finding it. That's because when you don't know your purpose, you're relying on the external world to give you meaning. But when you do know your why, you create that meaning from within. You stop reacting and you start leading. Your why acts like a filter. It helps you say yes to the right opportunities and no to the wrong ones. It brings focus. You stop wasting time on things that don't align with your core belief, and you double down on what truly matters. And as a result, your energy becomes more intentional. Your confidence grows. You stop comparing yourself to others because you're no longer playing their game. You're playing your game. This kind of clarity is magnetic. When you're aligned with your purpose, people notice. Whether you're building a brand, leading a team, or creating content, others can feel when something is coming from a place of authenticity. They trust you more. They want to work with you, buy from you, support you, not just because of what you offer, but because of what you believe. And that's the foundation of leadership. Leaders are not the ones with the most power or the loudest voices. They're the ones with the clearest sense of purpose. They inspire people not by telling them what to do, but by showing them why it matters. People follow leaders because they believe in the same cause. So if you want to have more impact, more direction, and more fulfillment, start by discovering your why. Make it your North Star. Let it guide your actions and shape your decisions. Because when your actions are aligned with your beliefs, your life becomes more than a series of tasks. It becomes a statement, a message to the world, a legacy.